Jason stood nervously in the bustling lobby of the Grandview Hotel, the air thick with the smell of rich coffee and fresh pastries. Sunlight poured through the glass doors, illuminating the high ceilings and the elegant chandeliers that hung like jewels. But in that moment, all Jason could see was the woman at the reception desk. Her name was Sarah, a woman in her 30s, with a poised demeanor and sharp eyes that seemed to evaluate every person who walked in. As Jason approached, he tried to feel confident, but a flicker of doubt crept in. He had spent weeks preparing for this moment, a chance to secure a pivotal booking for his small but growing event planning business. "Good morning," Sarah asked, not looking up from her computer. The sound of her fingers tapping against the keyboard mixed with the noise of guests chatting and luggage being rolled across the polished floors. "Hi. I have an appointment with Mr. Thompson, the CEO," Jason said, his voice a tad shaky. He added a nervous smile, hoping it would open a door. "I'm afraid Mr. Thompson is quite busy today," she said, finally looking at him, her expression unreadable. Jason's heart sank, "But I do have an appointment scheduled." Her voice trailed off, the implication clear. She wasn't going to make things easy for him. "Can you check again? I really need to speak with him today." "It's about an event that could mean a lot for my business," he pleaded, desperation creeping into his tone. She met his eyes, a mix of sympathy and irritation flashing across her face as she turned back to her screen. "I'm sorry, sir." The rejection felt like a punch to the gut. He had poured his soul into this proposal, working late nights and sacrificing weekends. This was his opportunity to prove he could stand among the giants in the industry. He asked, barely holding on to his composure. She took a long, deep breath, clearly considering his request, but then she shook her head. "I really can't." Jason felt a wave of defeat wash over him. He was about to turn away when he noticed a familiar figure entering the lobby. It was Mr. Thompson, the CEO himself. He was tall, exuding confidence, with a warm smile that seemed to light up the room. "Mr." Jason called, striding forward, almost forgetting his previous doubts. The CEO's brow furrowed slightly as he approached, eyes darting between Jason and the receptionist. "Not yet, sir, but I've been working on a proposal for your upcoming event, and I really wanted to discuss it with you today," Jason said, heart racing. Before Thompson could respond, Sarah stepped in. "I'm sorry, Mr." Jason felt the air thicken. The way she said "doesn't have an appointment" felt like a barrier being built between him and the opportunity of his life. Thompson paused for just a moment. He asked, glancing at Jason. There was curiosity in his eyes. "Jason," he replied, his voice faltering slightly. "I run an event planning company." Jason's heart sank again, yet something inside him flickered with determination. This was not just about him, it was about the future of his business, the dreams he had nurtured for years. Before he could finish, Sarah interjected. "Mr. Thompson, there's a tight schedule today. Perhaps tomorrow would be better, I can assure you," but Jason saw it, the flicker of interest in Thompson's eyes, the nuance in his expression that hinted he was at least willing to listen. "Please, just a moment," Jason pressed on. "All I need is a handshake and a chance." Thompson looked back at Sarah. Jason could feel Sarah's gaze, a mix of annoyance and disbelief. But there was a sense of respect in Thompson's decision. It felt as if this small moment had already changed something in the dynamics of power and opportunity. "Fine," Sarah finally conceded, throwing her hands up in resignation. Thompson gestured for Jason to follow him, and they turned away from the reception desk, walking toward a quieter corner of the lobby. Jason's heart raced. He couldn't believe he was actually getting a chance. As they settled into a small seating area, Jason took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. He had rehearsed this pitch countless times, but now it felt surreal. He sat across from the CEO, who watched him intently. "So Jason," Thompson said. Jason's voice came out strong, confident. "I know your company is planning a significant event next month. I have some ideas about how to set your brand apart from the competition, creating an experience, not just an event." Thompson leaned forward, listening closely. Jason's heart swelled. For the next 10 minutes, he laid out every detail he had envisioned, populating the air with his passion for creating memorable events. He described innovative themes, engagement activities, and tailored experiences, watching Thompson's expression change from casual interest to genuine intrigue. With every detail he spoke, he could see Thompson nodding, a spark igniting in his eyes. When Jason finished, a moment of silence hung in the air, filled with possibility. "Impressive," Thompson finally said, his voice carrying a weight of respect. Jason exclaimed, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. But then, just as quickly, Thompson's expression shifted back to business. "But do you have the capacity to deliver?" "That's where my team comes in," Jason replied, the confidence pumping through his veins. "I've built a talented group dedicated to executing high-stakes events flawlessly." Thompson took a deep breath, contemplating. "You realize there's a lot at stake." "I am," Jason asserted, his voice steady. "I've prepared for this moment." Just then, Sarah sauntered over, arms crossed and a skeptical look on her face. "Mr. Thompson, I think you should keep in mind." "Sarah," he interrupted, raising a hand slightly. "I'm listening to Jason." The surprise in Sarah's eyes was palpable. Jason quickly exchanged a glance with Thompson, and the unspoken acknowledgement between them felt like a silent handshake, a bond forming that promised potential. "All right, Jason," Thompson said, leaning back with a thoughtful look. "Let's see where this goes. How about we set a follow-up meeting and you can present a full plan?" Jason's heart raced. This was it. "Absolutely, I'll prepare everything you need." As they stood to shake hands, Jason felt the weight of responsibility shift. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about his team, about the people who believed in him and the work they could do together. Thompson's grip was strong and firm, signaling an agreement. In that moment, everything changed. He had defied the odds, challenged a closed door, and turned it into an opportunity. As Jason walked away, he realized that sometimes all it took was one handshake, one chance to change everything. He looked back at Sarah, who was now watching him with a mix of surprise and curiosity. Perhaps she saw something in him she hadn't before. With every step, Jason felt lighter. The air was clearer, the sun brighter, and the world wider. He had fought against the odds, and now he was stepping into a future that felt within reach. In the back of his mind, a quote surfaced: "Success is not the result of spontaneous combustion." He had just lit a match, and as he left the Grandview Hotel, the city seemed full of possibilities, waiting for him to grab hold and make them his own. Jason stood at the reception desk of the Grandview Hotel, his palms clammy and his heart racing. He had been preparing for this day for weeks, and yet here he was, staring at the very woman who would decide his fate, with a cold expression that felt like the steel door of opportunity slamming shut. "Mr. Thompson will not be able to see you today," Sarah said, not bothering to look up from her screen. The air was electric, filled with the bustle of guests and the clinking of glasses in the nearby cafe, but all Jason could hear was the echo of her words. "But I have a confirmed appointment." "I received an email just yesterday," he insisted, tension creeping into his voice. Her eyes finally met his, but they held no warmth. "Without a proper booking in our system, I can't help you." Just like that, in that posh hotel lobby bathed in golden light, Jason felt as though his dreams were unraveling. He had worked night after night, crafting a proposal aimed at impressing the CEO of one of the top tech firms in the country. This was the pitch that could elevate his struggling event planning business into a realm he once thought impossible. But all that stood in his way was a single, unwavering receptionist. "Please," he said, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice, "I just need a moment of his time." "I'm sorry, but that's not how it works here," Sarah replied, her voice as firm as steel. Jason's heart sank. Next was the CEO himself, the reason he had mustered up the courage to approach the desk. As if on cue, he spotted Mr. Thompson entering the lobby, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit that screamed authority. The man was magnetic, with an easy confidence that drew people in without him even trying. "Mr." Jason called out, his heart pounding as he stepped toward the CEO, who was now within earshot. Thompson noticed Jason and stopped, a hint of curiosity crossing his face. He asked, tilting his head slightly, assessing Jason. "No, sir, but I have a proposal that's perfect for your upcoming event," Jason blurted, momentarily forgetting the dismissed spirit Sarah had cast over him. Before Thompson could respond, Sarah interjected. The air thickened, and Jason felt the ground beneath him shift. This was the moment where dreams either falter or take flight. Thompson asked, looking back at Jason, his interest piqued. "Jason," he replied, swallowing hard as he pushed his nerves aside, "I run an event planning company." Thompson regarded him for a moment, his expression shifting as if weighing the options. "I'm busy today, but I'm intrigued." A rush of adrenaline surged through Jason's veins. "Because I've poured everything I have into this proposal." Sarah crossed her arms, clearly unimpressed. "He really doesn't have a schedule, Sarah," Thompson interrupted, his voice threaded with authority. The flicker of potential ignited within Jason. This was the chance he had been waiting for, and no matter the odds, he wasn't going to let it slip away. "Thank you, sir," Jason said, keeping his voice steady. They moved to a quieter corner of the lobby, away from prying ears. Jason could feel the sweat forming at his temples, balancing on the edge of anxiety and excitement. The lavish surroundings of the hotel faded into the backdrop as his focus sharpened. "All right, Jason," Thompson said, leaning forward slightly. With a deep breath, Jason stepped into his pitch. "I believe events should tell a story, an immersive experience that allows your guests to connect with your brand on an emotional level." As he spoke, he painted vivid pictures with his words, envisioning vibrant colors, flickering lights, and the sound of laughter echoing in the halls. He described themed areas that would allow for interaction, engagement, and lasting memories. With each passing moment, he saw Thompson's interest shift from polite curiosity to genuine intrigue. "That does sound interesting," Thompson remarked, nodding along, his brow relaxed for the first time. Jason's heart hooked on Thompson's words. "Because I have a team that's passionate about creating exceptional experiences," Thompson probed, tilting his head. "I do. I've organized smaller events, but this is what I'm striving for. I want to go big," Jason admitted, meeting Thompson's eyes with unyielding determination. Just then Sarah approached, her skepticism wrapped around her like a shield. "Mr. Thompson, I must insist you remember how tight your schedule is today." but Thompson held up a hand to silence her, his focus unwavering on Jason. Let him finish. The disbelief in Sarah's eyes felt palpable, but Jason saw a small ember of respect flicker in Thompson's gaze. It ignited his confidence further. My vision includes developing a theme based on your company's core values, something that reinforces your brand image while delighting your guests. Thompson considered this, stroking his chin while Jason plunged deeper into his vision, alive in his words. He spoke of setting up interactive displays and luxurious lounge areas, and creating unforgettable moments where guests could network freely while enjoying a breathtaking atmosphere. Time slipped away as they enveloped each other in a world of creativity, but soon Jason could see the gears in Thompson's mind shifting from skepticism to captivation. "All right, Jason," Thompson finally said, breaking through the charged silence. "I can see you're serious about this." "Absolutely," Jason replied firmly. "I've always been ready to take risks for what I believe in, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure this succeeds." Thompson took a moment, a serious expression on his face. Jason felt his pulse quicken as that gravity settled. Before they could continue, Sarah cleared her throat, her tone now a slight mix of surprise and resignation. "Mr. Thompson, we really do need to let me shake your hand first," Thompson said, stepping in before turning back to her with a dismissive wave. He reached out to Jason, and in that moment, Jason felt a wave of energy course through him as they sealed an unspoken promise with a handshake. This was more than just a business deal, it was a leap of faith. Jason could feel a change in the air around him, an uncharted territory where risks could lead to rewards. As they separated, Thompson's gaze remained sharp. "Absolutely, I'll have it ready," Jason vowed, determination sparkling in his eyes. The tension had melted away. With every second that passed, life blossomed around him. The once overbearing receptionist, the defined redistricting lines of his own doubt, faded into a backdrop of potential. As Jason walked out of that lobby and into the warm street, exhilaration coursed through his veins. He had put everything on the line, ignored the naysayers, and fought for what he believed in. In the following days, he dove into preparing the proposal, pouring his creative energy into every detail. He pushed aside all distractions, fueled by the promise of what lay ahead. When he finally delivered the proposal to Thompson, it was met with enthusiasm. They worked closely together over the next few weeks, bouncing ideas back and forth, piecing together the extravagant event that was now underway. On the day of the event, as guests flooded through the doors, Jason watched in awe as they were welcomed into a world he had only imagined. Decorations glimmered, smiles radiated, and laughter echoed through the hall. Thompson found him amid the celebrations, eyes bright with approval. "You did it, Jason." Jason couldn't contain his joy. In that moment, surrounded by the vibrant energy of the event, Jason realized how important it was to harbor belief in oneself. It was more than just about business. It was about trusting the journey, even when the odds seemed stacked against you. As the night unfolded, the applause rang out, echoing a promise he had made to himself long ago. He set out to make a mark, to rise and claim his place in a world that thrived on stories and shared experiences, and he had just begun. Standing with Thompson, watching the guests enjoy the event, Jason felt it, the overwhelming rush of possibility. Sometimes it only took one handshake to unlock a future dotted with dreams, a journey worth every moment of denial he had faced. He stood there, pulse racing, hands clammy against the cool metal of a briefcase that felt heavier than usual. Just moments ago, Jason had been brimming with excitement about his meeting at the Grandview Hotel. Today was crucial. He had poured all his hopes into this moment. All that stood between him and a life-changing deal was one receptionist with an unwavering gaze. "Mr. Thompson cannot see you today," she said flatly, tapping away at her computer screen. The bustle of the hotel lobby faded into the background as her voice cut through the air like a cold wind. Jason's heart sank. This was not just any pitch, it was the proposal he believed would elevate his struggling event planning business. This was his chance to impress the CEO of a major tech company, and now in the heart of that elegant lobby, it felt like that opportunity was slipping away. "Excuse me," he said, trying to steady his trembling voice. He pulled his phone from his pocket, anxiety creeping in as he fumbled with the screen. Sarah, the receptionist, barely glanced up. Her demeanor was cool, professional, and unyielding. In that moment, the world around him blurred, the chandeliers hanging above, the chatter of guests enjoying their drinks, the smell of fresh pastries wafting from the cafe nearby. They all faded away. All Jason could feel were the sharp edges of disappointment and frustration cutting through him. "Please," he summoned, every ounce of desperation in his voice. "I just need a few minutes." The receptionist's eyes softened for a brief moment, but still she remained resolute. "You'll need to reschedule, Mr." Just then, the automatic doors swooshed open, and a presence entered that stopped time. Jason turned his head just in time to see Mr. Thompson stride through the lobby, a tall figure clad in a tailored navy suit, exuding confidence with each step. He had a reputation for being approachable yet intimidating, and Jason recognized this was the moment he had to seize. "Mr. Jason called out, his heart pounding against his ribs. It glance from the CEO, and suddenly his anxiety morphed into a surge of determination. Thompson regarded Jason with a raised eyebrow. "No, sir, but I'm here to discuss a proposal regarding your upcoming event," Jason said, hurriedly closing the distance. "That's highly irregular," Sarah interjected, her voice cutting through the air again. Thompson paused, glancing between the receptionist and Jason. Jason's heart raced even faster. "I was told I could present my ideas." Thompson regarded him with keen interest, as if Jason were a puzzle waiting to be solved. "Jason," he answered, desperately hoping the connection he felt would resonate with the CEO. "I'm busy today, but I'm intrigued," Thompson said slowly, as though weighing his next words. It was a loaded question, but Jason refused to back down. "Because I've dedicated my life to crafting unforgettable experiences for events, I know how your brand can resonate more deeply with its audience." The weight of his words hung in the air. Sarah's irritation was palpable, but Thompson leaned in slightly, a spark of curiosity igniting in his eyes. "Sounds ambitious," Thompson said. "Absolutely," Jason replied, voice steady now, emboldened by the attention of the CEO. "I run a passionate team dedicated to making ideas come to life. Our last event led to a record return on investment for our client." Thompson pressed, his brow furrowing. "I do," Jason asserted, feeling the fire of determination burning brighter. "I may not have handled a project of this magnitude yet, but I'm ready to take that leap." "Interesting," Thompson mused, his eyes narrowing as he considered Jason's enthusiasm. The tension turned palpable. Just then Sarah stepped forward again, defenses up. "Mr. Thompson, let's not forget your schedule." "Sarah," Thompson interjected, his voice firm yet calm. Jason felt a surge of hope. Time stood still. He could sense the gears turning in Thompson's mind, and he had to act quickly. "Imagine your event filled with immersive experiences that not only showcase your brand, but also connect with your audience on an emotional level." He described the visuals he had envisioned: vibrant colors, stunning lighting, music that whispered to the soul. Every word he spoke painted a picture of a transformed venue, a captivating experience that resonated with the very core of who Thompson was as a brand. Thompson's expression began to shift. There was interest simmering beneath the surface. "Because I'm all in," Jason said, passion spilling from his heart. "I've been working towards this my entire life." Thompson studied him, his gaze penetrating. Jason swallowed hard, then straightened his back. "I'm here to make sure that nothing does." For a long moment, Thompson was silent, the tension crackling like electricity in the air between them. It felt like they were teetering on the edge of a precipice. "And what do you want from this?" Thompson asked, his tone serious. Jason's heart raced. That question had always loomed dreadfully over him. "To prove that I can make a mark in this industry. To show that my team can deliver outstanding results in a high-stakes environment." Finally, in that charged silence, Thompson turned slightly. He extended his hand toward Jason. Time stopped as Jason took in the weight of the moment. He grasped Thompson's hand firmly, the contact a surge of potential and promise. It felt like breaking away from a heavy chain that had been holding him down. "I won't regret this," Thompson said, his confidence shining through, even as uncertainty lingered. Jason nodded, unable to keep the smile from spreading across his face. He had done it. He had broken through the barrier. He looked back at Sarah, whose expression replayed a mixture of surprise and begrudging respect. "Let's get to work," Thompson said, pulling away and turning toward the door. As Jason walked back into the bustling lobby, adrenaline coursed through him. He had clawed his way through doubt and denial, and now he stood on the precipice of a new journey. Over the following weeks, he worked tirelessly with Thompson's team, each meeting filled with collaboration and creativity. They brainstormed, laughed, and shared ideas, each moment reinforcing their connection. The initial spark of uncertainty evolved into a blossoming partnership, with Jason feeling more alive than ever. On the day of the event, he watched with anticipation as guests mingled through the entrance, greeted by a stunning display that he had imagined coming to life. Everything had come together beautifully: the lighting, the decor, the atmosphere. And as he walked through the venue, he could hear laughter and see smiles spreading across the faces of guests, each moment crystallizing into a memory that would last long after the night was over. He couldn't help but beam with pride. Thompson found him in the midst of the festivities. "You did it, Jason. You really turned your vision into reality," he said, clapping him on the back. "Thank you," Jason replied, overwhelmed with joy. It was a team effort. As they surveyed the room, the applause echoed, carrying the weight of achievements forged through determination and resilience. Guests swirled around them, and Jason felt a surge of gratitude wash over him. Here, amid the laughter and energy, he had finally carved out his place in this vibrant industry. "I knew taking that chance would pay off," Thompson said, his tone reflective. Jason couldn't help but agree. It was a journey that had pushed him to confront every doubt and fear, and now he was standing at the threshold of a new beginning. In that moment, as he shook hands with collaborators, exchanged stories with guests, and reveled in the success they had created together, he realized that this was just the beginning. It wasn't merely about one event. It was about standing up against adversity and seizing the opportunities that life presented. And as the night rolled on, Jason knew that every time he faced a door closed in his face, he would remember this. Sometimes all it takes is one handshake to unlock a future filled with promise. In that lobby, with the world sprawling out ahead of him, he felt unstoppable. Each step forward was a step toward a brighter, bolder destiny. Jason stood in the bright, bustling lobby of the Grandview Hotel, anxiety bubbling like boiling water ready to spill over. People moved around him, guests in high-end suits, women in elegant dresses, and a gaggle of tourists snapping photos. They were all immersed in their own worlds, but Jason's world narrowed down to one woman behind the reception desk. Her name was Sarah, and today she held the keys to his career. "Mr. Thompson cannot see you today," she said, her tone as flat as her expression, never bothering to look up from her computer screen. Each word was like a brick being laid on the wall between them, a wall that felt insurmountable. "But I have a confirmation email right here," Jason pleaded, fumbling with his phone. His heart raced, pounding like a drum in his chest. This was not just a meeting, it was the defining moment for his small event planning business. He had worked tirelessly for weeks on this proposal, pouring both his heart and soul into it. "I understand, but without a proper booking, there's nothing I can do," Sarah continued, finally glancing at him, her eyes cold and indifferent. The weight of her words crashed over him. He had built up so much hope. Now it felt like everything was crumbling, like sand slipping through his fingers. "Please just let me leave a message for him. I really need to talk to him about this project. It could change everything for my company," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. Her face remained unchanged. "I'm sorry, sir." Jason took a deep breath, his vision blurring slightly as frustration welled up inside him. He had poured countless late nights and skipped hangouts with friends into this proposal. Would it all be for nothing? Just then, the automatic doors whooshed open, drawing his attention. In walked Mr. Thompson, the CEO of the very company Jason hoped to impress all, charismatic, with an air of authority that demanded respect. Jason's pulse quickened at the sight of him. This was his chance. "Mister," he called out, forcing his way through the crowd. With each step, he felt a mixture of dread and determination. The moment felt electric. Thompson turned, his brow slightly raised in curiosity. "No, sir, but I've been working on a proposal for your upcoming event," Jason said, urgency spilling from his lips. Before Thompson could answer, Sarah chimed in, arms crossed. "Mister," it felt like the air had thickened, suffocating him in a mixture of hope and despair. "I know it's last minute, but I truly believe this project could elevate your company's event," Jason added, trying to maintain eye contact with Thompson, who looked intrigued. "Is that spark in Thompson's eyes genuine?" Jason wondered. Thompson asked, tilting his head slightly. "Jason," he replied, anxiety replaced by determination. "I run an event planning company." Thompson leaned in slightly, his interest piqued. "But why should I give you my time today?" "Because I have fresh, innovative ideas that can attract attention and create lasting impressions," Jason stated, urgency guiding each word. Thompson studied Jason as if weighing his options while Sarah shot daggers at him with her eyes. Jason felt like he was on trial, every second stretching out painfully. "Interesting concept," Thompson said, his tone solid. "Yes," Jason quickly confirmed, the words tumbling out of him. "I may be working with smaller clients now, but I'm ready for a project of this scale." Thompson regarded him for another moment, his expression shifting. Jason could tell he was considering Jason's words, weighing the potential of this unexpected encounter. "I will make sure nothing goes wrong," Jason declared, feeling a swell of courage. "I'm dedicated and I've built an incredible team who share my vision." In that charged atmosphere, Thompson nodded slowly, the tension still crackling in the air. "Of course," Jason replied, heart pounding fiercely in his chest. Thompson's expression shifted, his curiosity now mingled with something deeper. Just then, Sarah reappeared, her impatience radiating like prickly heat. "Mr. Thompson, we really need to get going. Your next meeting—" "Sarah," Thompson interrupted smoothly, raising his hand slightly. Jason felt a rush of gratitude for Thompson's willingness to entertain his pitch. This chance was slipping through his fingers, he needed to grab it. "This event could define your brand's direction for years to come," Jason said, urgency weaving through his words. Thompson studied him more intently now, his demeanor suggesting he was intrigued. With adrenaline fueling his passion, Jason painted vivid images with his words, describing themed areas, immersive storytelling, and meaningful connections. He spoke with fervor, visualizing each aspect. He could see Thompson's expression shifting as the CEO began to imagine the possibilities. Thompson asked once more, skepticism creeping back in. Jason took a deep breath, his voice steady. "If anything goes wrong, I will be there to fix it. I believe in taking ownership and staying present." The silence was heavy, the stakes high. Moments seemed to stretch into eternity as Thompson weighed his options, while Sarah shifted impatiently behind him. "All right, Jason," Thompson finally said, breaking through the weight of uncertainty. "You've got my attention. I'll hear you out." Jason felt a surge of excitement mixed with disbelief. "Thank you, sir." Thompson extended his hand. In that moment, everything felt like it shifted. Jason seized his hand, feeling a rush of energy flow through him, a mix of relief and disbelief. That handshake felt like a bridge built over the chasm of doubt. "Get me that proposal by the end of the week," Thompson instructed, his voice still carrying a weight of authority. "Absolutely." "You won't regret this," Jason said, his voice steady and filled with conviction. With that, Thompson turned and walked away, Sarah still gaping with surprise as if she hadn't expected a complete stranger to win over her boss. The moment Jason strolled out of the hotel lobby, he felt lighter, the breath of fresh possibilities wrapping around him. The sun was shining, the day felt brighter, and every beat of his heart pulsed with possibility. Over the next few days, he worked tirelessly, pouring every ounce of creativity and planning into the proposal. This was more than just a job, it was a launchpad for his future, a chance to rise and a way to prove that he belonged in the industry. Jason's team rallied around him. They collaborated late into the nights, bouncing ideas off each other and crafting a proposal that felt electric with potential. As Jason meticulously pieced together every detail, he felt more alive than ever. The Friday deadline arrived, and with it an intense mix of nerves and excitement. He walked into the Grandview Hotel again, this time with confidence coursing through him. He found Thompson in his office, and with each step closer, he felt the stakes rising. "Jason," Thompson said, lifting his gaze from the files in front of him. "Thank you for this chance," Jason replied, settling in across from the CEO and spreading out his proposal. As he presented the details, he felt Thompson's eyes occasionally flicker with interest. From interactive exhibits to immersive storytelling, every element was designed to reinforce the brand while creating unforgettable experiences. "And what's crucial," Jason explained passionately, "is how each detail connects with the audience, making them feel special and valued." Thompson listened attentively, nodding at various points, his expression shifting from analytical to impressed. By the end of the presentation, the room felt charged. Thompson sat back in his chair, processing everything. "You've put a lot of thought into this, Jason." Jason felt a wave of relief washing over him. "Thank you, sir." "Well then," Thompson continued, a glimmer in his eyes, "let's execute this plan and see how far we can push the boundaries." The thrill of affirmation surged through him. They shook hands once more, sealing the promise. As weeks rolled forward, Jason watched his vision emerge in glorious detail. The day of the event dawned with a beautiful sky, laughter and energy radiating through the venue. Guests arrived, their faces lighting up with delight and surprise at every newly discovered attraction. Thompson found him amid the throngs of people, beaming as he surveyed the atmosphere. "You did it, Jason." "I couldn't have done it without my team and your trust," Jason replied, his heart swelling with pride. Cheers erupted as the evening unfolded, applause echoing throughout the space. Each connection that formed in that room felt like a victory. Jason reveled in the magic of it all, finally emerging from the shadows of self-doubt. He had conquered his fears, shattered the walls of rejection, and emerged victorious on the other side. In that moment, surrounded by laughter, joy, and celebration, he understood the value of opportunity. It wasn't just about the handshake, it was about what he had become in the process of achieving his dreams. Sometimes it takes just one chance, a single handshake to unlock the doors of a future filled with potential. And Jason knew, as he watched the success of the event unfold, that this was only the beginning. Each step forward could lead to even greater heights. Jason stood nervously in the lobby of the Grandview Hotel, the sharp click of heels echoing on the marble floor as guests hurried past him. The air was thick with the scent of fresh coffee and polished wood. But all he could feel was the weight of his briefcase, a symbol of all his hopes and dreams. Today was the day he had worked tirelessly for, yet that day was teetering on the edge of disaster. "Mr. Thompson cannot see you today," said Sarah, the receptionist, her voice flat. She barely glanced up from her computer monitor, her fingers dancing over the keys as if that would erase Jason from her thoughts. He swallowed hard. "But I have a confirmation email for my appointment." He pulled out his phone, desperately tapping it to fetch the email. "Without a formal booking in our system, I can't help you," she replied, her tone unwavering. Jason felt the walls closing in around him, the vibrant energy of the lobby fading as dread sank deep into his stomach. "Please, I just need 5 minutes to pitch my proposal to Mr. Thompson." With a slight sigh, Sarah held his gaze. "I understand, but this is how it works." Behind him, the automatic door swung open and in strode Mr. Thompson, the CEO, seemingly larger than life. Jason's pulse quickened. This was the man whose attention he craved. "Mr. Jason," called, the urgency in his voice echoing off the walls. Thompson turned, eyebrows raised, curiosity flickering in his gaze. "No, sir, but I have a proposal that could be beneficial for your upcoming event," Jason said, his heart racing. Before Thompson could respond, Sarah interjected, arms crossed. Jason felt the air shift, the weight of Sarah's dismissal palpable in the room. "But I really think it's worth a moment of his time," he pleaded. Thompson regarded Jason closely, his interest slowly peaked. "Jason," he replied, grounding himself in the moment, "I run an event planning company." "Interesting," Thompson said, tilting his head slightly. "You Because I'm passionate about creating unforgettable experiences, Jason said, feeling a surge of confidence as he continued. Thompson's curiosity danced in his eyes, but Sarah stepped forward, clearly annoyed. Mr. Thompson, you really must stick to your schedule. We have just a moment, Thompson said sharply, cutting her off. He then turned back to Jason. Encouraged, Jason took a breath and dove into his vision. Imagine a space alive with colors, sounds, and interactions tailored to your company's message. I want people to walk in and feel an emotional connection to your brand. As Jason spoke, he noticed the way Thompson leaned in, nodding slowly as Jason laid out each idea. For a moment, it felt like the world around them vanished, leaving just the two of them suspended in possibility. Thompson finally interjected, but you've worked primarily with smaller clients. I may not have handled a project of your scale, but I'm willing to take the leap, Jason declared. I've designed events that created lasting impacts for my clients. The tension grew thicker, but Jason could sense Thompson's interest evolving. I'll be there to fix it, Jason assured him, his voice steady despite the questions racing through his mind. Thompson was quiet for a moment, weighing Jason's words. Just then, Sarah shuffled impatiently. Mr. Sarah, Thompson said, his tone calm yet commanding. Jason could feel the weight of both their gazes, the tension hanging in the air. All at once he had their attention, and he knew he had to make it count. This event could shape your reputation moving forward, Jason said passionately. I envision an experience that resonates with your audience on emotional levels. Thompson regarded him thoughtfully. You've put a lot on the line here. Absolutely, Jason replied, a flicker of determination igniting within him. Thompson leaned back slightly, contemplating everything. The silence in the room felt deafening. And then with an air of resolve, he extended his hand toward Jason. Let's shake on it. Jason's heart soared as their hands met, sealing a promise between them. That handshake felt significant, like the first step onto a new path laden with opportunities. Jason replied, unable to hide the enthusiasm from his voice. He watched as Thompson walked away, Sarah's look of incredulity mirroring his own feelings of disbelief. As he left the Grandview Hotel, Jason felt as if he had shed a heavy weight. His mind buzzed with excitement and possibilities. He could make this work. He had the chance. In the days that followed, Jason dove into research and preparation. He transformed that initial spark of a proposal into a fleshed-out presentation. Each detail had to resonate perfectly, so he enlisted his small but dedicated team to brainstorm ideas that would dazzle even the most discerning eyes. They spent long hours mapping out everything from the color schemes to the interactive displays. Jason drew on inspiration from successful events he had seen and crafted imaginative concepts that would breathe life into Thompson's vision of the event. The deadline weighed on him, but with every meeting, it felt more tangible, more real. Excitement thrummed through him like a live wire. This was it. This was what they had been working toward. Finally, the day arrived for Jason to present his refined ideas to Thompson and his team. He walked into the Grandview Hotel again, this time with a sense of purpose. His heart raced, but he stood tall, ready to make his case. Jason, Thompson greeted him with a nod as he entered the conference room. Thank you, Jason replied, setting down his materials. The room was filled with sharp suits and focused expressions, and the stakes were palpable. He began by outlining the proposal, pointing out visuals that illustrated how their ideas would engage the audience. He detailed every section, from interactive exhibits to themed networking areas that would encourage connections. The more he spoke, the more he noticed the atmosphere shifting. There was a buzz of interest growing. This event is not merely a showcase, it's a story waiting to be told, Jason said passionately. And you, Mr. Thompson, are the author of that story. Thompson's demeanor shifted, the spark in his eyes grew brighter. He and his team leaned in, captivated by Jason's enthusiasm and vivid storytelling. Thompson asked, a tinge of skepticism still lingering. Then I will be there every step of the way, Jason replied firmly, filled with the confidence that had driven him thus far. After the presentation, Thompson sat back in his chair, his brows furrowed in thought. You've impressed me, Jason, he finally said, nodding to himself. Thompson turned to his team, exchanging glances. Let's move forward. Jason felt his entire body relax as the weight of that affirmation washed over him. They shook hands once more, sealing the deal, and Jason knew he had conquered not just the challenge set before him, but also his own self-doubt. As the weeks passed, Jason watched as the plans came together. The day of the event arrived, the atmosphere electric with anticipation. Laughter and music filled the air, guests mingling and discovering the unique displays that had become the essence of their hard work. Jason stood at the entrance, watching as guests walked in and gasped at the sights unfolding before them. Colors danced, lights sparkled, and the room thrummed with energy. It was everything he had envisioned. Then Thompson walked up beside him, surveying the crowd with a satisfied smile. You did it, Jason. Jason turned, meet Thompson's gaze, filled with appreciation. As the event unfolded, people enjoyed themselves in the engaging environment they had crafted. Conversations flowed, deals were struck, and everyone was captivated by the narrative that Jason had helped create. He watched the success bloom around him, the joy, the connections, the moments that mattered. Every image of laughter etched itself in his memory, a beacon of affirmation that his decision to step into that lobby that day was pivotal. In that moment, he understood it was never just about business design. It was about relationships, connections, and the stories they built together. Every time he had encountered doubt, he had emerged stronger, willing to shake hands and open doors that had once seemed locked. As the night came to a close, applause erupted, echoing through the room like a triumphant symphony. Jason stood there, infused with a sense of accomplishment that swelled within him. Thompson approached one last time, clapping him on the shoulder. "You've carved your place in this industry, Jason." As the lights dimmed and the celebrations continued, Jason felt the truth of those words sink in. This was not simply the end of one journey, it was the launching point for countless adventures to come. Sometimes it takes just one handshake to change everything, and that day in the lobby had transformed the trajectory of his life. Each step forward now felt like a stepping stone leading toward a brighter future, one filled with limitless possibility. Jason stood in the lobby of the Grandview Hotel, his heart racing like a drum in his chest. Around him, the soft chatter of guests mingled with the clinking of glasses, the space alive with energy. But for Jason, the world narrowed to just one person. Sarah, the receptionist, sat behind her sleek desk, her face set in a mask of indifference. "Mr. Thompson cannot see you today," she stated flatly, her gaze not bothering to rise from her computer screen. "What do you mean?" "I have an appointment," Jason protested, pulling out his phone to show her the confirmation email. Anxiety bubbled inside him. He had worked for weeks to prepare for this moment. "I'm sorry, but I don't see your name in our system," she replied, a hint of impatience creeping into her tone. Jason felt his stomach drop. He had poured everything into this proposal, countless late nights and missed social gatherings. This meeting was meant to be his breakthrough, a chance to push his struggling event planning business into the spotlight. Yet here he stood, facing rejection in a glitzy lobby that felt more like a trap. He implored, desperation leaking into his voice. "I really need to talk to Mr. Thompson." She sighed, finally looking up at him, but her eyes were as cold as her demeanor. "You'll have to reschedule." The weight of her words hit him hard, and frustration clawed at his insides. Just then, the automatic doors swung open, and in walked the very man he had come to see, Mr. Thompson, the CEO. He was tall, with an air of confidence that made people turn their heads. Jason's pulse quickened, adrenaline coursing through him like fire. "Mister," he called, stepping forward, his heart pounding against his ribcage. Thompson paused, glancing at Jason with interest. "No, sir, but I have a proposal that could benefit your upcoming event," Jason said quickly, trying to keep his voice steady. Before Thompson could respond, Sarah jumped in, her arms crossed. The air thickened with tension. Jason felt like he was on the precipice of opportunity, but it could just as easily slip away. "But I believe this project is important for your company," he pressed. Thompson looked between Jason and Sarah, a flicker of curiosity lighting up his eyes. "Jason," he replied, hope rekindling in his heart, "I run an event planning company." Thompson studied him, weighing his options. "Interesting, because I can create an unforgettable experience," Jason fervently stated, determination lifting his voice. "This isn't just about planning an event." The corner of Thompson's mouth twitched slightly, a sign of interest. Sarah still looked skeptical, but Jason pressed on. "Imagine an event where guests leave feeling enriched, engaged, and connected to your brand." Thompson's brow furrowed as he considered this. "But you're a small player in a big game." "Because I have the fresh ideas and passion that bigger firms often lack. I focus on the details, personal connections, and how each element can tell a story," Jason replied, his nerves fueling his passion. Thompson leaned back in his chair, his expression still unreadable. "And what if things go wrong during the event?" Jason straightened up, breathing deep. He had expected this question. "Absolutely, I thrive under pressure. I've learned that true success comes from taking responsibility. If something goes wrong, you can count on me to fix it." Just then, Sarah stepped in again, looking impatient. "Mr. Thompson, your schedule, just give him a moment," Thompson interrupted, his tone brokering no argument. In that instant, Jason felt the tension snap and the barrier between them narrow. "This event can shape how audiences perceive your brand moving forward," Jason said, urgency surging through his words. Thompson studied him with a mix of consideration and skepticism. "You're asking me to take a leap of faith. It's about more than just cosmetic details. I want to immerse your guests in experiences that resonate with the core values of your company," Jason replied, heat rising in his voice. Thompson remained silent for a moment, weighing Jason's passion. Then he nodded slowly. "All right, Jason, you've piqued my interest." Relief washed over Jason, but there was a thrilling weight to this moment, as if everything hinged on his next words. "Thank you, sir." Thompson extended his hand, the warmth of a handshake feeling monumental. This was more than just business. It felt like a door opening to unimaginable possibilities. Jason felt the energy shift in the room as they shook hands. "Absolutely." As Thompson turned to leave, Sarah's expression shifted from disbelief to something closer to respect. Jason felt triumphant as he turned to exit the lobby, adrenaline pumping through his veins. He had done the impossible. Days turned into a blur as Jason dove into crafting the proposal. Late nights filled with brainstorming sessions and planning fueled his drive. He collected data, sketched out ideas, and poured his heart into every detail, the initial fire igniting into an inferno of creativity. He gathered his small team for intense brainstorming sessions where ideas flew like sparks. Each concept was woven into a vision that felt increasingly tangible. They discussed immersive experiences, engaging themes, and how to elevate every moment ideas that could resonate with Thompson's brand. Finally, the deadline approached, and Jason's palms felt clammy as he stood outside Thompson's office, a polished proposal in hand. Taking a deep breath, he knocked and was met with an invitation to enter. Thompson greeted, his expression warm but focused. "I am excited to share it with you," Jason replied, stepping into the room. The stakes were high, but he had prepared for this moment. He laid out the proposal, vividly describing how every detail came together, creating an emotional connection with audiences. "This event isn't just a spectacle, it's a chance for your brand to shine, to tell a story that resonates with people," Jason articulated, passion animating his every word. Spoke, Thompson's expression shifted, intrigue circling in his eyes. Jason illustrated the interactive displays, the vibrant colors, and the meaningful connections they would foster between the brand and its guests. "Interesting concepts you have here," Thompson said, nodding as Jason concluded his pitch. "That's where I come in," Jason assured him. "I will oversee every aspect of the planning. I've lined up a highly skilled team who share my passion and vision." Thompson considered this for a moment. "You've invested a lot of energy into this." Jason met Thompson's gaze, feeling the weight of sincerity in his words. "I've learned to embrace challenges. Every setback is an opportunity to prove my resilience and commitment." Silence filled the room as Thompson absorbed Jason's declaration. The atmosphere shifted subtly, the tension morphing into something more promising. "Very well," Thompson said finally, nodding slowly. "I appreciate your dedication and creativity." Jason felt a thrill race through him, a powerful combination of relief and exhilaration. They shook hands once again, sealing the deal. "Get started right away," Thompson instructed. Jason left the office, a sense of triumph washing over him as he recalled the events that led him to this moment. He had faced rejection, pushed through doubt, and emerged on the other side with not just a job, but a partnership built on shared vision and understanding. As weeks passed, Jason's anticipation heightened. The day of the event finally approached, and he felt a rush of nerves mingling with excitement. He watched as everything transformed into a vibrant, inviting space that reflected his hard work and dedication. When the doors opened and guests began to trickle in, Jason's heart raced with adrenaline. Laughter filled the air, and he could see guests marveling at the immersive experience he had dreamed of. Thompson appeared beside him, surveying the room filled with smiling faces. "You did it, Jason. Thank you." "I couldn't have done it without your support," Jason replied, feeling the weight of pride swell in his chest. As the evening unfolded, the atmosphere became electric. Conversations flowed, connections were made, and Jason felt the magic of the event ignite in the room. He looked around, witnessing dreams realized and visions coming to life in every joyful moment. The satisfaction he felt was profound. He had turned the tide from rejection to triumph, showing that determination and creativity could overcome any obstacle. When the event ended, applause erupted, ringing through the space like a triumphant anthem. Jason soaked in the joy of success, surrounded by the team he had built and the connections they had fostered. Thompson approached him once more, his demeanor filled with newfound respect. "You've carved out a place for yourself in this industry, Jason." As the night wound down, Jason felt gratitude wash over him. It wasn't merely about the event's success. It was about the journey, the leap of faith that led to discovering his own potential. That early encounter in the lobby changed the course of everything, he realized. It wasn't just a handshake or a presentation. It was a testament to digging deep, fighting for what you believe in, and ultimately realizing that every setback can turn into a stepping stone. As he closed his eyes, surrounded by laughter and celebration, Jason knew he had embarked on a journey filled with promise and endless possibilities. Each new endeavor held a blend of fear and excitement, yet he was ready to embrace it all. That initial rejection had transformed into an opportunity, and all it took was courage to shake hands with fate. He stood just outside the Grandview Hotel, surrounded by the polished luxury of a bustling city. Jason's heart raced as he thumbed through his neatly organized portfolio, each page representing countless hours of hard work and dedication. Today was supposed to be a milestone in his budding career, a meeting with a CEO who could elevate his fledgling event planning business to new heights. Yet as he entered the lobby, a dread blossomed deep in his stomach. "Mr. Thompson cannot see you today," said Sarah, the receptionist, her voice a dull monotone, barely looking up from her computer as she clicked away. "But I have an appointment," Jason said, urgency cracking through his otherwise calm demeanor. He pulled out his phone, searching for the confirmation email he had eagerly saved. "I'm sorry, sir. Without a booking in our system, I can't help you," she replied, her tone final as if those words were etched in stone. A weight pressed down on his chest, constricting his breath. He had poured everything into this proposal, the sleepless nights, the skipped meals, the anxieties that clung to him like shadows. This was his moment, but her cold dismissal felt like a door slamming shut. He pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "It's urgent. I need to talk to Mr. Thompson about my ideas for the event." She sighed, finally lifting her eyes to meet his, but they held no warmth, only indifference. "You can reschedule. Today isn't possible," she said, dismissively waving her hand as if to push him out the door. Just then, the automatic doors whooshed open, slicing through the tension in the air. In walked Mr. Thompson himself, exuding an undeniable confidence with each purposeful stride. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and radiated charisma. The moment Jason saw him, everything else faded into the background. Thompson was the man whose attention Jason had fought so hard to capture. "Mr. Jason," called out, his pulse rocketing, desperation morphing into determination. Thompson turned, a hint of curiosity flickering across his face. "No, sir, but I have a proposal for your upcoming event, and it's crucial that I discuss it with you today," Jason said, forcing himself to step forward. Sarah quickly stepped in, her arms crossed. "He doesn't have an appointment, Mr." Jason felt like the air had frozen around him, the moment teetering on the edge of possibility. "But I believe this could make a significant impact on your brand," he said, urgency spilling from his lips. Thompson studied Jason for a moment, a subtle shift in his posture. "Jason," he introduced himself, a flicker of hope igniting within. "I run an event planning company." "Interesting," Thompson remarked, an eyebrow raised in skepticism. "Because I believe in creating unforgettable experiences that connect with people," Jason replied, his voice steadying. The corner of Thompson's mouth twitched, a hint of intrigue revealing itself. Sarah still displayed her annoyance, but Jason pressed on. "Imagine a space filled with colorful displays, interactive experiences, and moments that inspire meaningful connections. That's what I'm offering you," he added, his hands gesturing emphatically. Thompson regarded him thoughtfully, his mind clearly processing Jason's words. "But you've mostly handled smaller projects," he said slowly. "I understand your skepticism," Jason said, urgency fueling his voice, "but I also see an opportunity." The tension mounted, the air crackling with unspoken possibilities. Just then, Sarah interjected, clearly growing impatient. "Mr. Thompson, let's not forget your next appointment is—" "Let him finish," Thompson interrupted, his tone firm yet respectful. Jason seized the moment, his heart pounding. "This event could redefine your brand's image moving forward. Imagine engaging your audience on an emotional level." Thompson remained silent for a heartbeat, thoughtfully weighing Jason's proposal. He finally asked, his eyes searching for any sign of uncertainty in Jason. "I thrive under pressure," Jason asserted, feeling the adrenaline surge through him. Thompson regarded him for a moment, the air thick with anticipation. "I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, but understand that I won't tolerate failure," he warned, his voice low and steady. "I promise you, Mr. Thompson, I won't let you down," Jason replied, the conviction in his voice unwavering. Thompson pondered for a moment before finally extending his hand. "Let's shake on it." The warmth of the handshake sent a thrill coursing through Jason's veins. It was a binding promise, an unspoken agreement that carried the weight of their futures. "Thank you." "I appreciate this opportunity," Jason said, his spirits soaring. As Thompson turned to leave, Sarah looked astounded, a mixture of disbelief and respect painted across her face. Jason felt triumphant, energy coursing through him as he stepped out of the lobby, the world around him bursting with possibilities. With the days that followed, Jason poured himself into the project. He researched tirelessly, crafted a detailed proposal, and built a cohesive vision that captured the essence of Thompson's brand. A small team rallied around him, excited by the prospect of working on a high-stakes event. They brainstormed ideas late into the night, fueled by caffeine and passion, building a plan that felt larger than life, a vibrant atmosphere filled with opportunities for engagement, connection, and storytelling. He envisioned every detail, from the layout to the interactive elements that would captivate audiences. The deadline loomed ahead, and as Friday approached, Jason felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. With his heart pounding, he prepared to present his grand vision to Thompson and his team. With a deep breath, he entered Thompson's office, where the CEO awaited him with palpable interest. Thompson greeted him cheerily. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'm excited to share what we've created," Jason replied, setting his portfolio on the table between them. He unfolded his ideas, pouring every ounce of enthusiasm into his presentation. As he described interactive activities and thematic elements, he could see Thompson's interest growing, the CEO leaning forward, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. "This event is not just a one-off occurrence," Jason explained passionately. "It's a powerful way to connect with your audience and to create a lasting impact that reflects your brand values. Imagine the social media buzz, the word-of-mouth marketing." Thompson evaluated each point, nodding along, but then he paused. Jason felt the question looming, but he had been prepared for it. Then I will be there, ready to adapt and resolve any issues, he promised, confidence flooding his voice. The silence that followed felt heavy, but Jason could see Thompson absorbing everything he had said. It was a pivotal moment, a chance for him to convey his dedication. You've certainly put a lot of thought into this, Thompson finally said, and I appreciate the effort you've shown. With that, they shook hands once more, the promise of partnership solidified in a touch. Jason felt exhilarated, like an athlete who had just crossed the finish line, adrenaline surging through him. As the days turned to weeks, Jason chronicled every element of the plan, poring over details with his team. The event loomed closer, and with each passing moment, his excitement built. He had crossed the threshold from doubt to belief, from chaos to clarity. The day of the event dawned with anticipation. Bright lights illuminated the venue, and energy crackled in the air as guests began to arrive. Their smiles radiated joy, curiosity igniting their conversations. Every element they had painstakingly crafted was coming to life. Thompson found Jason amidst the whirl of bustling guests. "This looks phenomenal," he said, surveying the atmosphere filled with excitement. "Thank you, I'm glad you're pleased," Jason replied, pride swelling within him. As guests wandered through interactive displays and engaging themes, laughter echoed in the halls. Every moment felt electric, a testament to not just the hard work, but the belief they had cultivated together. When the applause erupted, Jason felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. This wasn't just a successful event, it was a celebration of resilience, creativity, and teamwork. He had turned rejection into opportunity, setbacks into triumph. A moment later, Thompson approached him once again, beaming with pride. "You've proven yourself, Jason." "Thank you for believing in me, Mr. Thompson. This means more than you know," Jason said, the weight of his journey sinking in. As the evening wound down and guests departed with smiles on their faces, Jason took a moment to reflect on everything that had led him here. He had transformed uncertainty into success, navigated obstacles, and created something beautiful alongside the people who had believed in him. In the end, it was more than just one event. It was a stepping stone in his life, a moment that redefined what was possible. As he stood amidst the remnants of celebration, Jason understood that this was just the beginning. Sometimes all it takes is a single moment, a chance opportunity, an unexpected handshake to change the trajectory of your life forever. Each future opportunity now sparkled before him, shimmering with promise waiting to be seized, and he was ready for every single one. Jason stood at the entrance of the Grandview Hotel, heart thumping wildly in his chest. He had rehearsed this moment countless times, his pitch, his confidence, the fire in his eyes. But as he stepped through the sliding doors and into the elegant lobby, that fire dimmed under the weight of reality. The lobby was a swirl of activity. Smartly dressed executives mingled with tourists sipping coffee. The clattering of suitcases echoed off marble floors, and the scent of fresh pastries wafted in from the cafe. Yet all Jason could focus on was Sarah, the receptionist behind the front desk. "Mr. Thompson cannot see you today," Sarah said, her tone dismissive, eyes glued to her computer screen. Jason felt his heart drop. "But I have a confirmation email," he replied, pulling out his phone, fumbling slightly as he navigated through his messages. She didn't look up. "I'm sorry, but unless it's in our system, I can't let you through." Frustration bubbled inside Jason. There had been too much riding on this meeting, the countless hours he spent preparing his proposal, the sacrifices he made in his personal life. This was his chance to break through, yet here he was, facing rejection before he could even begin. His voice wavered as he shared, "It's really important that I speak with Mr. Thompson." "Without a booking, there's nothing I can do," she replied flatly, emphasizing the finality of her words. Jason felt the room closing in on him, anxiety creeping up his spine like a cold hand. He looked to his left and saw people laughing and chatting, but for him, everything felt muted. He took a deep breath, desperately searching for a glimmer of hope. Just then, the automatic doors whooshed open, and in walked Mr. Thompson. At that moment, the buzz of the lobby seemed to fade into silence. He was every bit the powerful CEO Jason had imagined, tall, with an air of authority that forced people to take notice. "Mr. Jason called, raising his hand as if to break through a wall of sound. Thompson turned, curiosity lighting up his eyes. "No, sir, I'm Jason, and I have an important proposal for your upcoming event," he said, feeling adrenaline pulse through him, urging him forward. Before Thompson could respond, Sarah interjected, arms crossed. Jason felt the air grow thick with tension, his heart raced. Thompson's calculating gaze flicked between Sarah and Jason, clearly weighing the options. "Jason," he said, desperation creeping into his tone. "Jason," Thompson repeated, almost as if tasting the name. The pressure was immense, but Jason felt a flicker of determination. "Because I can create an unforgettable experience that will resonate with your audience." Thompson's eyebrow arched, a hint of intrigue breaking through his calm facade. Jason dove into his pitch, feeling the words flow from him like a river after a storm. He described a vision filled with colors, sounds, and interactions designed to engage attendees deeply. For a brief moment, Thompson's expression softened as he leaned in. Interesting, but do you have the experience to execute something of this magnitude? Jason took a deep breath, steadied by the intensity of Thompson's gaze. I might be small, but sometimes the biggest ideas come from fresh perspectives. The tension in the air felt electric as Jason saw the doubt flicker behind Thompson's eyes. Jason met him with unwavering conviction. I thrive under pressure. Mistakes are always learning opportunities. Thompson considered him, the silence stretching uncomfortably between them. Just as Jason feared he wouldn't break through, Thompson lifted his hand, signaling for silence. You've made a strong case. I understand, Jason responded, voice steady but his heart pounding in his ears. I won't let you down. With a measured expression, Thompson extended his hand. Jason barely believed what was happening. The warmth of Thompson's hand engulfed his, and a rush of energy surged through him. This handshake was more than just a formality. It was a promise, a commitment to each other's visions. Get me that proposal by the end of the week, Thompson said, his voice firm. Absolutely, sir, Jason exclaimed, his spirit lifted as he turned to leave. As he exited the Grandview Hotel, the weight that had burdened his shoulders began to lift. He could hardly contain his exhilaration. This was not just a meeting, it was the key to a future he had always dreamed of. The next few days were a whirlwind of creativity and intense focus. Jason devoted every waking hour to crafting the ultimate proposal. He worked late into the night, brainstorming and collaborating with a small, dedicated team. They pored over every detail, every nuance, ensuring that what they created was nothing short of spectacular. By Friday, as the sun streamed through his window, Jason felt butterflies dancing in his stomach. He meticulously compiled the presentation, highlighting the vision, the emotional connections, and the impact they could create together. He was prepared. He had put his heart into this. Arriving at the hotel again, he felt a sense of purpose. The lobby looked the same, but for him, it felt different. He could hardly believe he was stepping into a realm filled with possibility, a chance to showcase his talent. Good morning, Mr. Thompson, he said as he entered the CEO's office, confidence radiating from him. Thompson looked up, his expression curious as he gestured for Jason to sit. Jason laid out his proposal, speaking with passion about the intricacies of the event. He painted a vivid picture of how the experience would unfold. The look of interest on Thompson's face was a powerful motivator. This is impressive, Thompson said, nodding as he followed along. I truly believe this can elevate your brand, Jason replied, his excitement bubbling over. But then Thompson leaned back in his chair, scrutinizing him. And what if this doesn't turn out as expected? Jason held his breath. If anything goes wrong, I'll take full responsibility. I will ensure that every detail is executed flawlessly. Thompson's expression shifted, and Jason could feel the energy in the room change. The stakes were high, and it was a pivotal moment. Finally, Thompson spoke. If we go forward, I'll be putting a lot of trust in you. I'll deliver, Jason assured him, the determination in his eyes sharpened. With that, Thompson extended his hand once more, sealing the deal in a pact that felt dramatic and life-changing. Jason couldn't believe it. This was it. This was his moment, the leap he'd always dreamed of. After the handshake, the weeks ahead felt almost surreal. The event planning moved forward with rapid momentum, each team meeting buzzing with ideas and excitement. They mapped out every detail, envisioning interactive experiences and crafting an atmosphere that would make the event unforgettable. As the day of the event approached, the pressure mounted. Jason felt a mix of excitement and anxiety, the stakes soaring higher with each passing moment. But he couldn't back down now. This was his chance to shine. Finally, the evening of the event arrived. The venue sparkled under the artificial lights, anticipation simmering in the air. Jason stood backstage, glancing at the shimmering decor, his heart racing with adrenaline. Guests poured in, their laughter mingling with music as the atmosphere transformed into something extraordinary. Thompson appeared beside him, surveying the scene with a satisfied smile. Looks incredible, Jason, he said, pride reflecting in his voice. Thank you. I can't believe it's happening, Jason replied, turning his focus outward as hundreds of guests mingled in front of them. As the night unfolded, the energy became electric. Guests interacted with every element of the event, their enthusiasm palpable. Conversations flowed, laughter erupted, and Jason watched as connections were made right in front of him. Then, just as he took a moment to revel in the success, the music abruptly stopped and a hush fell over the crowd. Jason's heart dropped as he turned to see a group of people pushing through the throngs of guests, approaching him and Thompson with stern expressions. Jason, we need to talk, one of them said, their voice tense and serious. Jason asked, confusion flooding his mind. This is not what we agreed upon, the leader of the group fired back, pointing toward a display that had just malfunctioned. A pit formed in Jason's stomach as a wave of panic washed over him. His heart raced while he scrambled to regain control of the situation. This was not how it was supposed to be. If he didn't act quickly, what he had built could crumble before his eyes. With every guest's gaze now fixed on him, Jason realized it was do or die. This was the moment when all his hard work could either cement his success or lead to his downfall. He squared his shoulders, ready to confront the chaos that lay ahead. The night had only just begun, but this challenge could change everything. Would he be able to turn things around and prove himself worthy of the trust he had built? Or was this the moment everything came crashing down? As Jason prepared to step back into the spotlight, the weight of the world rested on his shoulders and the night hung in the balance. The stakes couldn't be any higher.